All right, you're watching Chicago Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham, and it is mailbag time here on the channel. So if you have a question, use the hashtag Bears and get your question in, or the super chat function. If you super chat, we will get to those questions first. And we'll start with Alex's $10 super chat. Appreciate it, Alex. He predicts Bills, Eagles, Super Bowl, Buffalo wins, Cowboys losing the first round, and he wants Don Burr to have a co-hosting duties here. Bills Eagles would be fun. I think the Andy Reid Bowl of Chiefs Eagles would be fun. I mean, are the Bills just this team of destiny now with the Damar Hamlin situation? Can you imagine if Damar Hamlin walks out of the tunnel for one of these games and does the coin flip? It's over. I mean, add 10 points to the spread if that happens in any game they play. So it's been good to see his progress and his recovery. But, yeah, I think Bills Eagles could definitely happen. We'll see. Playoffs should be fun. Henderson, Davante Adams, or DeAndre Hopkins? Gosh, probably Hopkins because he's not going to get $30 million a year even on a new deal like Adams. I think Adams is probably a tick better, but I also think Hopkins is way more easier to get. Like him and Arizona have pretty much already said that they're going to trade him. So I think Adams is going to stay in Vegas. Look, if he becomes available, I would absolutely take him. But I think it's going to cost more to get him. I think Hopkins is more attainable and for cheaper. Hugh Carrito, if CJ Stroud stays, that would decrease the value we get from trading with the Colts, as Texans would most likely take Anderson. Then Arizona takes Carter, and we are left with Myles Murphy or Tyree Wilson. Why would the Texans just take Will Anderson at that point? I mean, I guess if the Colts trade up and take Young and Texans don't want Levis, I guess they could do that, but we don't know that. And I think the number one pick value goes up even more if there's a clear-cut number one quarterback. There's been rumors that Stroud could stay, get this huge NIL deal. Now, I still maintain here as we're filming this, I think Stroud will declare, but it is puzzling that he hasn't yet. So we'll monitor this, but I think if anything, it increases the value of the number one pick. I don't think there's a scenario where it could decrease it. Aaron DeMamp, would you rather take the Texans 2 first this year for the number one pick or a team's first year and next? It's a tough call. I mean, I think it depends on who that team is, trying to project if that team's going to contend next year, because if you take Houston's 2 this year, you get the 2nd and the 12th pick. So that gives you a lot of versatility. You could trade down again from number 2 with another team, or you have 2 top 12 picks. You could go like Will Anderson at number 2, and then, maybe like a Quentin Johnston or Jordan Addison at number 12. Peter Skoronski could be there as well, someone like that. But if you get a first next year, the reason that's valuable is, let's just say Fields doesn't work out. Like he doesn't take the proper steps and the Bears want to go in a new direction at quarterback. Well, then you have 2 first-round picks next year. You've got the ammunition to go up and get the guy you want. So, that flexibility is nice to have, but having 2 top 12 picks this year would be nice as well. So I think either way would be a pretty good scenario. Now, I want to know what you guys think. How much do you expect the Bears to get in a trade back from the number one pick? Obviously, it depends how far they move down, but how much do you want in return if the Bears do trade from the number one pick to lower spot in the draft? Let me know what you guys think. $5 super chat from Q Carrito. If Daron Payne gets to free agency, I'm selling the house for him. I would give him more than even Roquan got. Oh, same. Roquan, 20 a year. Daron Payne is an interior pass rusher that can give you 8 to 10 sacks. Yeah, I would give him $20 to $23 million a year. 4 years, $108 million? Come on. Or no, that's bad math. 4 years, $88 million. 22 a year? I'd do that. Chris Jones, I think, got 4 for $85 for the Chiefs a few years ago. He's not quite as good as him, but, with cap going up, I could see a similar type of deal. So, yeah, if the Commanders don't tag Daron Payne, I mean, to me, he's at the top of the free agent list if I'm Chicago. DC Viper, would getting a guy like Eric Kendricks or Van Der Esch help Sanborn develop? If either of them hit free agency or got cut, who would you take? Well, Van Der Esch is on a 1-year deal, so if he doesn't re-sign, he could be a guy that's available. Yeah, I would pair either of those guys with Sanborn. And then you really don't have to do a ton else at linebacker, sign a couple backups, maybe a Sam linebacker to be that third guy on clear running downs. But, yeah, I think either of those guys would be just fine. I'd probably lean Van Der Esch. I've liked the way he's played the last couple of years with Dallas. He's a little more injury prone, but I'd probably lean in that direction. From None Not, do you think the Panthers would give up Brian Burns to move up? That's an interesting idea, and something I've thought about is a lot of these teams that could trade up for a quarterback have a player that would really help the Bears. Like you think the Colts, Quentin Nelson or DeForest Buckner. You think, they're not going to go linebacker. They didn't pay Roquan. Chuggs said in my ear, Darius Leonard. I don't think the Bears would take him on in a trade. But Quentin Nelson, an offensive lineman of his caliber, or a guy like DeForest Buckner at 3-tech, absolutely. Carolina, a guy like Brian Burns to rush the passer. Arizona, DeAndre Hopkins thrown into that deal. So we'll definitely do some draft trade idea videos. So make sure to subscribe. And also make sure you get going with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. This is the time to sign up and create an account with BetUS because the NFL playoffs are here. I'm going to go bet on games throughout the postseason. Go to chatsports.com/Bears. Use our promo code BEARDOWN. They'll give you an additional 125% deposit bonus. Put down $100. Give you $125 for free. You will be good to go. Chatsports.com/Bears. Promo code is BEARDOWN. From Nick Selvey, what are the chances the Bears draft an offensive tackle in the first round? If they trade down, I'd say a decent chance. There's no way they would draft number one overall. There's just not a guy on the offensive line that you would take number one. But trade down for a guy like Paris Johnson Jr., a guy like Peter Skoronski, who could kick inside in the NFL. We'll have to wait and see, depending on how teams evaluate him. He is projected to have shorter arms. There are a couple guys. Broderick Jones just declared he could be a mid-late first-round guy as well. That would probably be a little further down than the other two, but someone to monitor. From Mark Sutt, if the Bears trade Fields, it would be the dumbest thing in NFL history by a team that has a star quarterback. It's hard to say the dumbest thing in NFL history, but I will say this. I think it would be Texas traded DeAndre Hopkins for a second-round pick of David Johnson. That was pretty dumb. But what I will say is if he became a superstar type 5 quarterback, it would then be the dumbest thing ever. Don't do this, Chicago. Build around Fields this year. Trade back. Get some more assets. Build around this guy. I mean, we watched the same games, right? Like, he's already the best running quarterback in the NFL. He's already better than Lamar, in my opinion, at that. And we saw flashes of his throwing as well. And producer Jeremy, he sighed my ears like, I don't know. This year, like where Lamar is now at the injuries, Fields has surpassed him. He is that special as a runner. That factors in, bro. He's declined. All right, no more Jeremy debates during this segment as we keep going. But I want to see Fields get weapons around him as a passer. It is close, Jeremy, but Fields is he's special as a runner. Michael says, trade first round this year, second round for Seattle's first and DK Metcalf. So you would move from 1 to 5, and then you also trade your – why do you also have to send a second? That seems like a lot. You're dropping from 1 to 5 and giving up a second just to get DK. I think if anything, you would get the second, unless I'm just in my – I think you're overvaluing DK there, Michael. Like, I like DK, but I don't think you have to drop 4 spots, give up a second just to get DK. I don't think that that math adds up there. All right, a few more questions to come, but if you want to be a part of these mailbag videos, be sure to subscribe. Normally, we go live on Tuesdays. That's when we answer all of your questions. We also cover the latest Bears news and rumors, weekly mock drafts, other draft content, and free agency coverage as well. It's going to be a hectic offseason. You're not going to want to miss it, so subscribe. It's 100% free. Just click that sub button. All right, Larry Rosen, trade this year's second for Davante Adams, restructure his contract. I think Adams says no to a contract restructure, and I think unless he's getting like a signing bonus, and I think the Raiders say no. They're going to keep Adams for at least another year. Busy Womack, what free agent tackle or guard would you want to pursue? I like Mike McGlinchey as a right tackle option. Orlando Brown's starting to grow on me. Played a lot better the last 6 or 8 weeks of the year. I'm curious to see what Kansas City does there. I think they could tag him again. Who am I drawing a blank on? There's some other guys out there as well. Obviously, our pal Elton Jenkins got signed. So did Jack Conklin. There's a few other linemen. If you subscribe and go to the video content tab, I did a top 25 free agents video, and I discussed more offensive linemen. So go check that out. From Tiny Jim, could the Packers get a quarterback like Derek Carr or Lamar Jackson if Aaron Rodgers retires? #Bears. They certainly could. I wonder if Carr's just going to end up getting cut with that February 15th deadline, so we'll see what teams do there. I think Lamar's getting tagged because with Roquan Smith signing for Baltimore, they've got the franchise tag at their disposal for Lamar. Now, doesn't mean Baltimore couldn't trade him, tag and trade him, but it's tough with how much dead cap Aaron Rodgers is going to leave behind if he retires to also go tag and trade for Lamar and pay him $40, $50 million per year. It's not impossible. You can manipulate the cap. You can backload the hell out of it, but Lamar seems like a longer shot. Derek Carr seems more likely, but at the same time, wouldn't you just roll with Jordan Love for a year if you're Green Bay? At least give him a chance to see what he can do. So I think if it's not Rodgers, it's Love, unless something unforeseen transpires. Will Aaron Rodgers retire this offseason? Is this finally the time? Yes or no? I hope he does. Please walk away, Aaron. The torture has been too much. Yes or no, will Aaron Rodgers retire finally? Q Carrito with the 5. Realistically, you won't get to first for one spot. Leaving the Colts is the only option. Yada, yada, yada. I don't think that's necessarily true. If the Texans like a quarterback enough that they're worried that another team could trade up and cuck themselves from getting him at number 2, then it's possible. It's possible. The number 1 pick has that much value, guys. Like, if Houston likes Bryce Young enough and is panicking that Indianapolis is going to trade up and get him, then they'll go up and get him because, if they think he's a 12-year franchise quarterback, then it's worth it. William Brown, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? Not the Bears. I think it's either the Bills or Chiefs out of the AFC, and I think it's, I think it's San Francisco or Philly out of the NFC. If Dallas could just get past their own demons and beat Tampa, I think they could enter that conversation, but I think they're a distant third in the NFC. I will go Bills, Niners, Super Bowl, and the Bills win it. Kind of feels like it's the Bills' time, so we'll see. Joey, what is the most you trade away to get for D-Hop? Third round or the highest? I would maybe trade a second if it was a 2024 second, or let's say the Bears trade down and get a massive haul for one, like maybe they trade down to 5 or 6 or something like that and get an extra second in there. I might consider trading that second they have from Baltimore, which is late in the second round. But I would for sure trade a third. I mean, a third for Hopkins for this team, yeah. You get Nuke as your number 1, Mooney and Claypool your 2 and 3. Go sign like another vet to help fill out the back end. You're good at receiver for a year or two. From Richard, if the Bears don't sign David Montgomery, what running back should they get in the draft? I think that 4th, 5th round is a sweet spot for a lot of running backs. Chase Brown, Kendre Miller, you've got Zach Evans, Deuce Vaughn is a guy I like who does some different things. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's earlier, though. You're not going to take one in the second. Maybe if he fell to the 3rd. I like A-Chain from Texas A&M in like the 3rd or 4th. Tank Bigsby is another guy. Sean Tucker. I mean, there's a lot of running backs that you can get. Blake Corum's going back to Michigan, so he's out of the mix. There's plenty of guys. Yeah, Zach Charbonnet, I see the kid from UCLA in the chat. Roschon Johnson out of Texas, the other running back. He's an interesting one, too, because he doesn't have nearly the mileage that a Bijan would. So, yeah, there's 10 or 12 running backs in the middle rounds that I really like. All right, appreciate all your questions on today's mailbag. If we didn't get to any of your questions, go ahead and hit me up on social media at HGramNFL on Twitter and Instagram. We'll answer this last super chat here to kind of wipe out this segment from Emiliano, ending on a good one. But if you didn't get your question answered, at HGramNFL on Twitter and Instagram. Emiliano says, sources are telling me Bears are in on Barkley. Who are your sources, Emiliano? In all seriousness, I mean, I've seen it. This was a rumor a couple months ago. Bleacher Report's been on it recently. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a guy they could look at. If they want to upgrade from Montgomery and pair Barkley with Khalil Herbert, I mean, that would certainly be interesting. I don't think running back should be a focus. But, in a weak free agency receiver class, you're going to have to pay some money somewhere. So maybe upgrading at running back could be a spot to do that.